Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, Fun Friday friends. That's a phrase we've just made up on the spur of the moment because that's the sort of people we are. Welcome to a really nice wrap up of DevToberfest Friday. We've had a couple of awesome sessions in the topic of cloud native development from Josh and from Kevin. This morning, sort of my time as it were, earlier today we had one of these sessions, a flying money game. We had the same people, so we've been awake like 48 hours almost, feels like. So we've got Nico and Michelle, and we're gonna play a game. That sounds like War Games. Who remembers War Games? The film, the classic film. Do you want to play a game? Oh no, how about a nice game of chess? Anyway, this is what I do on my hands-on SAP Dev live stream. I go on to different directions. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So anyway, what we're going to do is going to play a game, and we're going to play against each other if we want. It's a bit of fun. Hey, Raphael, welcome again. STMS, Mr. STMS is in the house. And the game we're going to play has been written by the one and only Nico. And so I'm going to ask Nico to share his screen. So we're going to have a look at the game first, then we're going to play it. So Nico's going to take us through the game mechanics and what the game looks like. And then Michelle is going to take us through what we're going to do in terms of playing the game with each other. So Nico, hi, first of all.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the warm introduction.
That's okay.
And this is the flying money game that you're seeing on my screen right now. So your trained eye might already spot the design of this. It looks very familiar. Obviously, this is the SAP Horizon theme, the Horizon Dark theme. And I have built a browser game in UI5. And I learned this morning that it is not the first browser game built in UI5, but there haven't been a lot of them. So
No.
So still early days for UI5 and browser game development. But I quickly want to go through the game so that we can all have fun and play it in a few minutes. But I know we're the SAP Developers channel, so probably a few of you are interested in how I built this thing too. So that's why we do this here. So first up, we can see I'm already registered. That's because I played this morning, right? Usually I would just sign up with a nickname here. We can already see a leaderboard because we have an active tournament, and you can already see Mario, and he posted a crazy score of 231. I don't even know how that's possible, but anyway, I'll launch the practice mode for now, because I want to practice a little before we do the actual tournament. So this is the flying money game, everything in the red box here, and I can just click the button and say start and jump, and gravity will always pull me down, but I click and I end up failing after 2 points. So I can try again. This is practice mode. You can always see your score at the top of the screen. And yeah, that's the flying money game. I can also try and do a tournament round. So do I have a score here? So I have a score of 1 currently. Let's try and beat that. Oh, no new high score.
That's about how it went for me yesterday too.
No, the thing
I'd have several rounds of just nothing and then one.
It's crazy, the difference, because I'm currently rendering a video on my machine as well, and my processor seems to be so busy, like the game is laggy for me. So I don't know if that's just a bad excuse for being bad at this, but
you know what? I am so going to use that excuse next time I'm rubbish at anything. I'm just happen to be rendering something on my machine and it's all good slow.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's how bad I am at my own game. But let's talk about the overall design and what kind of application this is. Yes,
please.
So this is the flexible column layout. You might know this from other Fiori Elements applications like a list report object page thing. But I just use this for the game here. So we have the leaderboard and all the users on the left, and then the game on the right hand side. And yeah, overall, I use UI5, and for just specifically for the game in here, everything in the red box, basically, that's a UI5 custom control. And we already have the source code out on GitHub. So
nice. Yeah, super cool.
I can share the code with you as well.
I've got the chat thing, so I'll put the URL to the source code in the chat, in the YouTube chat. So Marian has just given his trick away, how he's got 231. Well, actually, no, that's not. I've been using. Marian says the spacebar is definitely better to jump. I've been using the spacebar, and I got a grand total of 7. So I think you have some skill as well, Marian, which I don't.
You know what? Oh yeah, I forgot that you could use the spacebar, and I built it. Anyway, that's a good tip. Yeah, that was like a week ago, and a lot has happened since then. And yeah, so but going back to the code, you obviously saw a persistence layer in here, right? Because we saw Marian's scores from this morning, and I implemented this with where I used Google Firebase Firestore for this, which is quite unusual for a UI5 application, I would say. But it was just a perfect technology for me to use for this case, because we have this live connection thing, because I can just listen to changes in the database without having to actively refresh or refetch any data. So let me just go into the component JS. So that's where we obviously initialize our component in UI5 applications. And in here, I call, or first of all, at the top of the file, I imported the Firebase JS, which I'll show you in just a second. So I'm calling the initialize Firebase method on the Firebase object here, or from that file, and set it as a model. And let's see what the Firebase JS does. So it just grabs a global Firebase object and runs initialize app. And the global Firebase object is available because I imported it from the CDN. In the index HTML, I just imported the library up here. So that makes all the Firebase methods, objects, all the data available as a model in my UI5 code.
You see, I'm just wondering, I don't think we did this explicitly in the first instance of this thing, but is it worth explaining very briefly what Firebase is?
Oh yeah, well, I don't know a lot about Firebase. I just know that I can use it for storing data and creating tables and entries very quickly. And I have, like, it's very, very easy to connect the front end to this database. Really.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would have described it as well. It's like a shared back-end persistence layer, but with events for everything.
Exactly.
There used to be a sort of a back-end as a service called Parse.com back in the day, and it's a little bit like that, but with more events.
Exactly. So the most important or the obvious thing that everyone talks about when talking about Firebase is the ability, is that you can just listen to a table, basically, and once the table changes in the backend for whatever reason, might be someone else changing it, might be yourself changing it from another place, you will get the new data as an event without having to actively refetch the data. You can actually see this in let me find something here. So in the leaderboard controller, so everything that you see on the left-hand side of the screen, I get the users, obviously, because I display the users score in this list, right? And I can listen to the user collection ref object with the on-snapshot method. And the on-snapshot method will listen to the collection in the backend, and whenever that changes, I get one snapshot and I can do whatever I want with it. And in this case, I grab the users and I set them as a model on the component, so on the overall component. Yeah. So yeah, that's the on snapshot method, and then there's also just the snapshot without the on, and that's just getting data once.
Very nice. And you're using a combination of standard UI5 controls, but also, as we've seen, there's some. I've not seen some of the stuff that we saw in the game. I'm not really seeing any sort of Fiori applications. So What are these custom controls?
Yeah, we usually don't have chandeliers in the.
I think we should. I think we should have more
we should.
chandeliers in our business
Yeah.
apps.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the
Fully
buttons.
agree.
Yeah, the buttons and the list here and all that, the titles and the navigation things, that is all standard UI5. But I have implemented this UI5 custom control here, and that just allows me to basically create a div and just wrap whatever I want, or just put whatever I want inside that div. And I'll quickly show you where that happens. So we have a control and then a game control file, and that's where I define the custom control, and then I can use it in the game, for example. So here we see the name, like I have a custom control namespace, and that matches the file name game control. And let me just collapse all of these methods here. So a UI5 custom control basically has three important parts. The first piece is the metadata. That is all the attributes that you usually have on UI5 elements. For example, a button has a text, it has a press, all of those things that you can set on a button, and that you have to define for a custom control. Obviously, for me, that's currently empty because I don't need that. But you could put something like a background color here and then make that, depending on what you select in the view. Then we have the render, and that's where we say, okay, you want to start the custom control with a div and end it with a div, and the control you basically put inside, those two tags. And then we have the on after rendering, and that's where the actual creating the the elements you need for the logic happens. So in here, I create a div for the game wrapper. I create a div for the background, for the ball, which is actually the little image going up and down, like the money. It was a ball a week ago. That's why we still have ball in here. Then the moving background, all of that. So I create all of these HTML elements, but I can also use UI5 controls in here as well. So here I grab a VBox, where I create a new VBox, which is just a flex box, but vertically. So that is a UI5 control, like a standard UI5 control that I can also use in here. And then I have some methods that are internal to the game control, up to the custom control, like the start game and reset game.
I love this as an example, a UI5 example that's, a little bit different to all the, dare I say, run of the mill, business at this, business at that. I'd love to look at different things. And the other thing is that within the app here, it's just occurred to me that this is a really nice example of where you have, for example, the two files you've got open, the game.view.xml. That's the, dare I say, standard or accepted best practice way of defining views declaratively, because declarative, right? In XML, because actually XML is less verbose than HTML in this case. But here inside the renderer, the controller that you're building, you're sort of mixing up, mixing together sort of standard HTML elements, but you're also using UI5 controls as well, and you're doing that with JavaScript. So it's a really nice contrast between, how you can build up controls with JavaScript and how you can build up controls with XML.
Yeah, definitely. And it also helped me in learning more about UI5, because I had to really understand where the different scopes are. For example, like the window object is available from within any code that's client side, whether it's JavaScript or whether it's UI5 or not. And I can pass custom events, from the window or through the, dispatch them to the window object, and can listen to them, from anywhere inside my app. So I really love to see, those two worlds merge together. And that was a good learning for me as well.
Definitely. I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I did notice when you were playing the game, I know you can't not notice the URL, and that gives us a clue as to the other half of this, or the other side of this game, right?
Yes, obviously that is Cloud Foundry. So I deployed this application to Cloud Foundry. So the backend is done with a Google Firebase, a Firestore. but the front end I deployed to Cloud Foundry, and I chose the easiest option, at least for me, and that's just defining a manifest.yaml and pushing the static build. So I ran a build before, so in the package.json, you can see I defined a build UI module that uses the UI5 tooling to create a build and just put it in the build folder. And then I use the manifest.yaml and just say I want the static file build pack for Cloud Foundry, and then push whatever is inside that folder, right? The build and then dist, push that to Cloud Foundry, and then Cloud Foundry will handle the, creating the URL and serving the files and all that. So it basically it's just pushing your code from place A to B, and it will behave the exact same way because it's just static content.
It's just occurred to me actually that this is probably the most sustainable way to serve this application from the cloud, because there's no moving parts on the server end, on the cloud end. It's just statically served.
Yeah, definitely. It's also the fastest way.
Yeah.
So if I was to put this in a multi-target application, having an app router and a lot of different pieces and things working together, the build as well as the deployment would take a lot longer than it does now.
Yeah, minimizing the number of moving parts is a great idea. Cool. Well, thanks for showing us that, Nico. Was there anything else you wanted to show, or shall we move on to having Michelle, our host, run us through what we're going to do?
I think, are there any questions in the chat, or? Well, if not, we can.
Think so. There were some questions this morning, but no questions. I think they're all eager to. I'm going to pretend there's a question in the chat. What is up with your color scheme? That is funky.
Yeah, I just picked it out last night. What's the name?
I think I like it and hate it with equal measure.
It's deep dark material theme.
Oh,
yeah.
So Santiago has just asked a question, a good question. Is it possible to use the HTML5 repository as well?
Yeah, of course. Then you would, you could use something like a managed app router in that case.
Yeah.
And then access the UI that way, and then let SAP handle, updating it and maintaining it and all that. We don't need any user authentication or something like that in this case, so there would be no benefit in using an app router, whether it is managed or not, like standalone or managed. So that's why I just went very, very minimal. But you could of course use the HTML5 application repository. Yeah.
Cool, great question, Santiago, and hi, by the way, as well. Okay. Well, thanks, Nico. Thanks for taking us through that. And by the way, I put the link in the chat. The source code is on GitHub. I think Marianne, if Marianne's still on, Marianne's already submitted was it an issue or a pull request? I can't remember.
It was an issue. I wish it was a pull request.
There you go, Marianne. No pressure, but he wishes it was a pull request. Okay?
Yeah, well, feel free to put issues out there. Feel free to comment on the code. Feel free to submit pull requests. Of course, this is open collaboration. This is open work, so everyone's welcome.
Awesome. Okay, I'm dying to have a go again, because I might actually beat my all-time high score of 7. So Michelle, tell us more about it.
All right, so we are going to be running a round robin tournament. We're all actually going to be heading over to Discord rather than staying here on YouTube, because there's about a 20-second delay. And that's not quite ideal for something like a tournament. So we're going to move over there. We're going to have some time to practice. We're going to play, and we're going to see who is the best at this game. Yeah.
Nice. So I've just put the Discord link in the YouTube chat. And by the way, I don't know whether you've seen that, Nico, but Marianne says he's working on it. Going from issue to pull request. Nice.
Awesome.
And finally, I know you'll share this again shortly, Michelle, but do you want me to share in the chat the tournament challenge thing?
Oh yeah, go ahead. So you can access actually the standings of the tournament online. for yourself. There's nothing in there right now because I don't know who's going to be there and who's going to play. We'll get that all set up, and I think we'll meet in the Discord server right after this stream is done, and we'll probably shoot for everyone being there at around 9. No, that's my time. At around 25.
Yeah, in 5 minutes.
From the hour. Yes, in 5 minutes. Yeah.
5 minutes, yeah. So just to be clear, we're going to finish this live stream. We're going to stop this live stream on YouTube, and we'll see you all in the Discord server, the link to which I've put in the chat there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Nico. Thanks, Brazil. See you on the other side. Bye for now.
Yeah. Bye. Hope to see you all in Discord.
See ya.
Stream end.